Dear Chosen One, they are coming after you harder than ever before. And this is not random. The attacks you're experiencing right now, the sudden obstacles, the unexplained resistance, the doors slamming shut in your face, are not coincidence. Evil governments have identified you. They have marked you. And they are playing the dirtiest game you've ever seen, because they know something about you that you're only beginning to understand. This is not paranoia. This is spiritual recognition. You are not being persecuted for what you do. You are being persecuted for what you are. There is something encoded in your very essence that terrifies corrupted systems. A spiritual signature. A divine DNA that cannot be erased, manipulated, or controlled. While they can program the masses with propaganda and fear, you remain immune. Your soul carries frequencies they cannot corrupt. And that, Chosen One, makes you the greatest threat they have ever faced. This is why they must play dirty. The clean methods don't work on you. Here is the truth they desperately need you never to discover. Your entire life of feeling different, displaced, like you never quite belonged? That wasn't a flaw. That was divine design. You were built with spiritual immunity for this exact moment. Every rejection you faced, every hardship that made no sense, every time you felt alone in a crowded room, it was all preparation. They are coming after you hard because your awakening triggers an unstoppable chain reaction. And today, you will understand why your very existence shakes their empire to its core. If this message is reaching your spirit right now, show me by hitting that like button. Subscribe to this channel and drop the word unstoppable in the comments to seal this moment and declare your identity. And if you're ready to step into the prosperity that's been waiting for you, both spiritually and practically, check out the call to prosperity in the description below. It's a manual with 10 powerful steps to activate that God destined for your life. You heard this message for a reason, and this is your call to prosperity, where you will be guided towards financial abundance. The link is in the description and in the first comment. Let me tell you what evil governments discovered about you that changed everything. Chosen One, every human being emits a spiritual frequency, an energetic signature that can be read, measured, and, in most cases, manipulated. The majority of the population operates on frequencies that are easy to control. Fear, scarcity, division, distraction. But you, Chosen One, emit something entirely different. Your frequency doesn't match their programming. It's like you're speaking a language their control systems cannot translate. And this terrifies them more than any revolution ever could. This is why you've always felt different. From childhood, you sensed something was off about the world everyone else seemed to accept without question. While others absorbed the narratives fed to them, something in you rejected it automatically. You couldn't explain it. You just knew. That wasn't rebellion for rebellion's sake. That was your divine DNA recognizing lies instinctively. You were born with a detector for manipulation that most people don't have. You are spiritually allergic to deception, and corrupt systems built entirely on lies cannot afford to have you walking free and aware. Think about how propaganda works on others versus how it works on you. When fear campaigns flood the media, most people panic and comply. But you step back, you question, you see through it. It's not because you're smarter, it's because your soul has immunity. The frequencies they broadcast to create mass hysteria don't penetrate your spirit the same way. This isn't arrogance, this is recognition of divine protection coded into who you are. God marked you before you were born. You carry something ancient, something pure, something they cannot touch with their manufactured realities. Your soul remembers things this world has tried to make you forget. You remember freedom, not the illusion of freedom they sell, but true spiritual liberation. You remember what it feels like to live connected to divine truth rather than human systems. You remember that you are not meant to be controlled, programmed, or diminished. These are not fantasies. These are soul memories, fragments of your true identity that corrupt governments desperately need you to suppress. Because the moment you fully remember who you are, their power over you evaporates completely. This is why they hate you specifically. You are not just resistant to their programming. You are a virus in their system. Your very presence disrupts the frequencies they've carefully constructed to keep humanity asleep. When you walk into a room, something shifts. When you speak truth, something awakens in others. You don't even have to try. It's automatic. It's who you are. And evil governments know that one fully awakened, chosen one can undo decades of their carefully crafted mind control. This is not exaggeration. This is why the attacks against you are so personal, so relentless, so dirty. Let me be very clear about what you represent to them. You are not just a problem. You are a contagion of consciousness. Every person who comes into contact with your awakened frequency has the potential to awaken themselves. It's like a spiritual domino effect. They can't have that. Their entire empire depends on keeping people divided, afraid, distracted, and asleep. But you naturally unify, embolden, focus, and awaken. You are the exact opposite of everything they need humanity to be. And they cannot reprogram you because you were never running their software in the first place. This is the fear that drives their desperate tactics against you right now. They are not attacking from a position of strength. They are attacking from a position of terror. They see the awakening spreading. They see more and more people rejecting their narratives. They see their control slipping. And they know that people like you, chosen ones who remember their divine nature, are the catalyst. Every time they try to silence you and fail, their fear multiplies. Every time you survive their attacks and grow stronger, their desperation intensifies. You are winning, and they know it. Here's what happens when a chosen one fully activates their spiritual DNA. The frequency you emit becomes so strong that it begins to override the lower frequencies around you. People who were asleep suddenly feel restless. People who were compliant suddenly start questioning. People who were afraid suddenly find courage. You become a walking, breathing disruption to every system of control. You don't need a platform. You don't need millions of followers. Your activated presence alone is enough to shake the matrix they've built. And that is exactly why they must stop you before you reach full activation. But they can't stop what God has encoded in you. They can attack you. They can make your life difficult. They can isolate you and slander you and throw every obstacle imaginable in your path. But they cannot delete your spiritual DNA. It is permanent. It is unalterable. It is divine. The only way they can neutralize you is if you choose to suppress it yourself. If you dim your light to make them comfortable. If you silence your truth to avoid their attacks. If you live small to stay safe. That is their only hope. And chosen one, that is exactly what they are working so hard to make you do. Think about every time you almost gave up. Every moment when you thought, maybe I'm just imagining all of this. Maybe I should just go along to get along. Maybe being different isn't worth the fight. Those were not your thoughts. Those were implanted suggestions carefully crafted to make you abandon your position. Evil governments don't need you to join them. They just need you to stop being you. They need you to doubt yourself, to question your discernment, to second-guess your divine nature. because a chosen one in doubt is neutralized without them having to lift another finger. Now you understand why the attacks are so personal. They're not trying to destroy you. They're trying to get you to destroy yourself. They want you to look at the obstacles and conclude that you're the problem. They want you to look at the rejection and believe you're defective. They want you to look at the hardship and decide that your path must be wrong. But here is the truth that shatters their entire strategy. Every attack against you is actually confirmation that you are exactly who you were created to be. The intensity of the opposition is directly proportional to the power of your calling. Let that sink in deeply. If you were irrelevant, they would ignore you. If you were harmless, they would tolerate you. If you were controllable, they would use you. But you are none of those things. You are a threat to every lie they've told, every system they've built, every agenda they've hidden. Your awakened consciousness is a spotlight exposing their darkness. Your activated spiritual DNA is an antidote to their poison. Your very existence proves that their power is an illusion. And that, chosen one, is why they are coming after you harder than ever. You are winning a war they thought they had already won. This is not the time to shrink back. This is not the moment to question yourself. This is not the season to play it safe. Every fiber of your being was designed for this exact confrontation. You have been in training your entire life. Every hardship was preparation. Every rejection was refinement. Every lonely season was strengthening. You are not a victim of their attacks. You are a warrior they cannot defeat. And the more they come after you, the more they prove that everything you've sensed about yourself is absolutely true. You are chosen. You are marked. You are unstoppable. So when they play dirty, when they throw everything they have at you, when the attacks intensify to levels that seem unbearable, remember this moment. Remember what you learned today. You are not being punished for who you are. You are being opposed because of who you are. There is a massive difference. Punishment suggests you did something wrong. Opposition means you are doing everything right. Your spiritual DNA is activating exactly as it was designed to. And no government, no system, no force of darkness can stop what God has encoded in your very essence. They know it. And now, you know it too. The escalation of hostile tactics against you reflects a system in panic. When standard methods of distraction, comfort, and confusion failed to keep you asleep, evil structures resorted to more aggressive countermeasures. Their intensified attacks are not random. They signal that you have become a threat they cannot contain, especially as the global awakening accelerates. Each person waking up traces back to someone like you who refused silence, compliance, or conformity, making you a catalyst they are desperate to stop. Because of this, they have shifted from broad societal manipulation to targeted persecution. You have been identified as a high-value threat, and the interference you face, closed doors, sabotaged opportunities, relational breakdowns, is strategic, not accidental. These attacks aim to break your spirit before your influence multiplies beyond their reach. Their tactics are designed to isolate you emotionally, spiritually, and socially in hopes of weakening your resolve before you realize how powerful your impact truly is. Their methods include algorithmic censorship, where truth you speak is suppressed, filtered, or erased to keep your influence contained. When silencing fails, they turn to defamation, attacking your character, questioning your motives, and weaponizing your past. This often comes through people close to you, creating emotional isolation and self-doubt. None of this is coincidence. It is intentional, calculated interference meant to destabilize your identity and credibility at the very moment your awakening is helping others break free. Financial attacks are particularly brutal because they hit where most people feel most vulnerable. You notice that money which used to flow suddenly stops. Opportunities you were counting on disappear without explanation. Investments fail in ways that make no logical sense. Bills pile up. Debt increases. Resources dry up. And the message is clear. Conform and the money returns. Resist and suffer financially. This is economic warfare designed to force you into survival mode, where you have no energy left to fulfill your spiritual calling. They want you so busy struggling to pay rent that you forget you were sent here to dismantle their kingdom. Psychological pressure is perhaps the most exhausting attack because it's constant and invisible. You feel watched. You feel targeted. You feel like everything is harder for you than it should be. Other people seem to move through life effortlessly while you face resistance at every turn. You start to wonder if you're cursed, if God has abandoned you, if you did something to deserve this level of difficulty. That is exactly what they want you to think. Because the moment you internalize the attack as personal failure rather than strategic opposition, they win without firing another shot. Here's what most chosen ones don't realize. The dirtier they play, the more desperate they are. Strong systems don't need dirty tactics. Confident powers don't resort to sabotage and slander. The fact that they are pulling out every weapon in their arsenal against you is not a sign of their strength. It's a sign of their panic. They know that if you fully step into your calling, if you completely activate your spiritual DNA, if you connect with other awakened chosen ones, their game is over. So they throw everything at you, hoping something will finally break you. But here's the part they didn't account for. You were built for this. Every attack they launch actually strengthens you. Every obstacle they place in your path actually trains you. Every dirty tactic they employ actually clarifies your mission. You are not like the people they are used to controlling. You don't break under pressure. You crystallize. You don't fold under attack. You sharpen. You don't retreat when they advance. You dig in deeper. This is your divine DNA in action. And they are learning, far too late, that some souls cannot be conquered no matter how dirty the fight gets. Let's talk about the specific goal of their dirty tactics. They don't want to kill you. Dead martyrs inspire movements. They want something far more insidious. They want you to voluntarily abandon your calling. They want you to choose mediocrity over mission. They want you to decide that being a chosen one isn't worth the cost. They want you to silence yourself, hide your light, suppress your gifts, and live an invisible life where you pose no threat to their control. If they can get you to do that, they neutralize you completely without the world ever knowing you existed. Think about how many times you've considered giving up. How many times you've thought, what if I just lived a normal life? What if I stopped standing out? What if I just blended in and played by their rules? Those thoughts always come during the heaviest attacks, don't they? That's not coincidence. That's programming. They hit you hard specifically to create those moments of doubt, those crisis points where you consider abandoning everything you are for the illusion of peace. But chosen one, there is no peace in betraying your divine nature. There is only slow death of the spirit. The isolation tactic deserves special attention because it's one of their most effective weapons. They understand that chosen ones are powerful alone, but unstoppable together. So they work systematically to separate you from other awakened souls. They create division through misunderstanding. They plant seeds of mistrust. They make you believe you're the only one going through this. They convince you that other people who seem awake are actually controlled opposition. The goal is singular: keep you isolated, keep you doubting connection, keep you fighting alone where you are easier to wear down. This is why community matters so deeply right now. This is why they work so hard to keep you from finding your tribe. When chosen ones connect, something exponential happens. The frequency doesn't just double. It multiplies in ways that shatter control systems. Two awakened souls together are not twice as powerful as one. They are 10 times as powerful. Three are not 3 times as powerful. They are 100 times as powerful. This is spiritual mathematics that evil governments understand perfectly. And this is why they will do anything, play any dirty trick, to keep you isolated and convinced that you must fight this battle alone. Here's how to identify the difference between normal life challenges and targeted attacks. Normal challenges are random and scattered. Targeted attacks are coordinated and timed. Normal difficulties teach you lessons and then release you. Targeted attacks feel relentless, like the moment you overcome one thing, 3 more appear. Normal hardships affect everyone around you similarly. Targeted persecution seems to single you out, while others around you move through life unscathed. If you have felt for years like you are living on a different difficulty setting than everyone else, that is not your imagination. That is spiritual recognition that you are in a different category than civilians. Now I need you to understand something that will heal decades of pain in a single revelation. Your entire life of not fitting in was never a mistake. Every moment you felt different, every experience of being misunderstood, every time you couldn't force yourself to care about things everyone else seemed to care about. That was your spiritual DNA protecting you from assimilation. You were not broken. You were encoded with divine resistance to a system that requires conformity for control. What you interpreted as social failure was actually spiritual success. Let's go back to your childhood. You probably remember feeling like you could see things other kids couldn't see. Maybe you sensed energies in rooms. Maybe you knew when adults were lying, even when everyone else believed them. Maybe you asked questions that made teachers uncomfortable because you were challenging foundations they never thought to question. You were labeled problematic, difficult, too sensitive, too intense. But here's the truth. You were not too much of anything. You were exactly right. The world was wrong. And your divine DNA would not let you pretend otherwise. Think about the friendships that never quite worked. You tried to connect. You genuinely wanted to belong. But something always felt off. Conversations felt shallow. Interests felt manufactured. Loyalties felt conditional. You couldn't understand why maintaining friendships required you to shrink, to pretend, to ignore your own discernment. So relationships fell apart, and you blamed yourself. You thought you were bad at connection. But the truth is, you were incapable of fake connection. Your spiritual DNA rejects artificial bonds. You were designed for deep, authentic, soul-level relationships. And those are rare. The romantic relationships that failed were particularly painful, weren't they? You gave everything. You loved deeply. You showed up fully. And somehow, it was never enough. Partners called you too intense, too spiritual, too different. They wanted you to be more normal, more predictable, more controllable. And when you couldn't become what they wanted, they left. You carried that as rejection for years. But here's what was actually happening. Your divine DNA was protecting you from yoking yourself to people who would eventually demand you betray your calling. Those relationships didn't fail. They were prevented. Employment has likely been another battlefield of not fitting in. You couldn't stay in jobs that violated your integrity. You couldn't fake enthusiasm for meaningless work. You couldn't obey without question. You couldn't stop seeing inefficiencies, injustices, and illogical systems. You were called insubordinate, not a team player, too idealistic. You watched people with less skill get promoted while you got pushed out. And you wondered what was wrong with you. Nothing was wrong with you. Everything was wrong with systems built to reward compliance over competence. Your DNA wouldn't let you play along. Even your own family may have struggled to understand you. The people who raised you, who shared your blood, often felt like strangers. They couldn't relate to your questions. They were uncomfortable with your intensity. They wanted you to be normal, to stop rocking the boat, to accept things as they are. Family gatherings felt like performances where you had to hide your true self to keep the peace. And the loneliest feeling in the world is being surrounded by family and still feeling completely alone. That wasn't your fault. You were a different frequency trying to harmonize with people still asleep. Here's what makes all of this so painful. You tried so hard to fit in. You genuinely attempted to be what everyone wanted. You studied social cues. You mimicked behaviors. You suppressed your knowing. You dimmed your light. You learned to laugh at jokes you didn't find funny, to care about things you knew were trivial, to stay silent when everything in you wanted to speak. And despite all that effort, you still couldn't make it work. Because you cannot override divine DNA with human effort. You were never meant to fit into their world. You were sent to build a different one. Every rejection you faced was actually divine protection. That friend who abandoned you would have betrayed you at a critical moment. That partner who left would have anchored you to a life half-lived. That job that rejected you would have consumed your calling years in meaningless labor. That family that didn't understand you would have suffocated your spirit with their expectations. God was closing doors you wanted to walk through because those doors led away from your destiny. The pain of rejection was temporary. The cost of wrong connection would have been permanent. The doors that closed, opportunities you wanted, prayed for, and were qualified for, were not failures, but divine protection. What looked perfect on the surface would have trapped you in a life that appeared successful, yet slowly drained your soul. The seasons of isolation, which felt like punishment and abandonment, were actually preparation. God was separating you from environments and people who would compromise your destiny, strengthening you in solitude so you could stand firmly when opposition came. You were not forgotten. You were being set apart. Your years of trying to fix yourself, forcing social skills, analyzing your differences in therapy, praying to be normal, were rooted in misunderstanding your design. God never removed what made you different because it was intentionally placed in you for a purpose. Your uniqueness was never a flaw, but a feature essential to your calling. Every failed relationship, dissolved partnership, and job that rejected you was shaping a deeper dependence on God's approval rather than human validation, redirecting you toward the one path aligned with your true identity. The pain, loneliness, and confusion you endured were real, but they were training rather than punishment. Every hardship built endurance, every rejection sharpened discernment, and every quiet night strengthened your ability to stand alone when necessary. You were not a social failure. You were a soldier in spiritual formation. Now, in this pivotal moment, you stand at the threshold of the very purpose all those closed doors and isolating seasons were preparing you for. Your entire life was a setup for this battle and this calling. You are not damaged goods. You are not socially defective. You are not cursed with perpetual outsider status. You are a chosen one who was kept separate for purpose. You are an agent of divine disruption who could not be allowed to assimilate into systems you were sent to dismantle. You are a frequency that must remain pure to do what it was designed to do. Everything that happened to you makes perfect sense now. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out so others could find their way out. Your difference is not your weakness. It is your weapon. Let me tell you what evil governments fear most, and it's not what you think. They don't fear your anger. They don't fear your resources. They don't even fear your numbers. What they fear is a chosen one who fully accepts their identity and stops apologizing for it. When you step into complete ownership of your divine DNA, when you stop trying to fit in and start operating in your full frequency, everything changes. You become untouchable in ways that have nothing to do with physical protection. You become a force they cannot calculate, cannot predict, cannot control. Here's what happens in the spiritual realm when you fully activate. Your frequency begins to override every lower frequency near you. It's automatic. It's not something you try to do. It's something that happens because of what you are. People who have been asleep for years suddenly feel uncomfortable in their sleep. People who have been complying with systems suddenly feel resistance rising in their chest. People who have been accepting lies suddenly start questioning everything. You are not preaching to them. You are not convincing them. Your activated presence alone is disrupting their programming. This is the contagion effect I mentioned earlier, but now you understand it's not a metaphor. It's a literal spiritual reality. Your awakened DNA communicates with dormant DNA in others. It's like a frequency key unlocking frequencies that were sealed. One conversation with you plants seeds that grow for years. One encounter with your energy shifts trajectories permanently. You don't need a platform with millions of followers. You don't need a title or position or wealth. You just need to be fully you. And that terrifies every system that depends on humanity staying controllable. Evil governments have studied this phenomenon for decades. They know that movements don't start with leaders addressing crowds. Movements start with individuals who carry such undeniable truth that everyone they touch begins to wake up. They know that one person operating in authentic divine frequency can undo years of propaganda in minutes. They have watched it happen throughout history. They have tried to prevent it. They have built entire systems to suppress it. And yet, here you are, awake, activated, and accelerating despite everything they threw at you. You don't need their permission to be who you are. Read that again. You do not need permission from governments, from society, from family, from employers, from anyone to operate in your divine DNA. It was given to you by God before any human system existed. It cannot be revoked by any human authority. The only way it gets suppressed is if you voluntarily choose to suppress it yourself. And every moment you spent trying to be normal, trying to fit in, trying to make others comfortable, that was you suppressing what cannot be contained without your consent. When you stop suppressing your true identity, everything shifts. Your words gain weight, your presence influences rooms, and your decisions align with purpose instead of comfort. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable, nor filter truth through fear. This is where real spiritual warfare intensifies, yet loses its power over you. Attacks still come, but they can no longer make you doubt your identity or question your calling. You reach a point where opposition becomes confirmation rather than discouragement, and that internal shift cannot be reversed. Simply existing as an awakened chosen one disrupts systems built on compliance and deception. Your presence, truth, and refusal to conform expose the fragility of manufactured control, just as Daniel, Joseph, and Jesus faced persecution not for their actions, but for their identity. Those who stand firm receive divine protection that bends circumstances toward purpose. finances provided through unexpected channels, reputations restored by God, and connections formed at the perfect time. Nothing that happens to you can derail your destiny. Instead, it strengthens it. The current intensity of persecution reflects collapsing systems and a growing global awakening. Evil governments attack out of panic, not power, because they sense their influence weakening, losing control of information, moral authority, and the ability to silence dissent. They remain dangerous, but not as strong as they appear. Their greatest fear is you realizing that their power was always dependent on your fear. Once you fully embrace your divine identity and stop shrinking back, their influence over you ends completely. Here's what happens next in the larger story. More chosen ones awaken. More people remember their divine DNA. More souls refuse to comply with systems that violate spirit. The frequency of awakening becomes so widespread that their ability to suppress it collapses entirely. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual mathematics. Light does not negotiate with darkness. Light exposes darkness, and darkness has no defense except to hide. And you, chosen one, are part of the light that is making it impossible for them to hide anymore. Every day you stand in your truth. Every moment you refuse to be silenced. You are part of a global awakening they cannot stop. The multiplication factor of awakened chosen ones working together is what terrifies them most. I told you earlier that two together are 10 times as powerful. Let me show you why. When chosen ones connect, they don't just share information, they amplify frequency. The spiritual disruption you create individually becomes exponential collectively. 3 chosen ones in authentic alignment carry the frequency of hundreds. 10 chosen ones moving in unified purpose carry the frequency of thousands. This is why they work so hard to isolate you. This is why they create division and suspicion even among awakened people. Because they know what happens when you find your tribe and lock in together. So let me speak directly to where you are right now. You are under attack. The pressure is real. The opposition is intense. The cost of standing in your identity feels higher than ever. And you are wondering if it's worth it. You are wondering if you should just surrender to a quieter life. You are wondering if maybe everyone who told you to be more normal was right. Let me tell you what's happening in this exact moment. You are at the threshold. This is the breaking point where you either fully commit to who you are or you retreat into who they want you to be. And they are hitting you hardest right now because they know this is their last chance to turn you around. But here is what they don't understand about divine DNA. It cannot be satisfied with compromise. You can try to go back to sleep. You can try to ignore your calling. You can try to build a comfortable life that requires you to suppress your true nature. But you will never have peace. There will always be a restlessness in your spirit. There will always be a knowing that you abandoned your post. There will always be a hollowness that no amount of comfort can fill. Because once divine DNA activates, there is no going back. You can only go forward or live in perpetual tension between who you are and who you are pretending to be. I need you to hear this clearly. You were made for this moment. Not the easy version of this moment where everyone understands you and supports you and makes your path smooth. You were made for this moment exactly as it is, with all the opposition, with all the attacks, with all the cost. Every hardship you have ever faced was building capacity for this. Every betrayal was teaching you who to trust. Every closed door was directing you to the one door only you can open. Every season of isolation was training you to stand alone when standing alone becomes necessary. And it has become necessary. The question is not whether you can survive this. You have already proven you can survive things that would have broken most people. The question is whether you will thrive in this. And thriving does not mean having an easy life. Thriving means operating in purpose regardless of circumstances. It means waking up every day and choosing to be fully you, even when being fully you costs you everything. It means looking at the attacks and saying, "You confirm that I am exactly where I am supposed to be." That is thriving. And chosen one, you were built for it. Daily spiritual protection is essential because you are in an active battle, and identity must be affirmed before attacks begin. Prayer is not ritual, but strategic communication with God, giving you access to divine intelligence that your enemies cannot intercept. Your words hold power, so speak victory, not defeat. What you consume shapes your frequency. Music, media, and conversations either strengthen or weaken you. So guard your atmosphere intentionally and protect your spirit from anything that disconnects you from your divine nature. The right community is crucial. Not everyone who sounds spiritual is aligned with truth, so discernment is necessary. Surround yourself with other chosen ones, people who challenge, sharpen, and stand with you, not those who enable weakness. Your testimony is a weapon. Every time you share how God delivered you, you dismantle enemy tactics and empower those coming behind you. That's why darkness tries to silence you. Your voice causes damage it cannot repair. Confidence in your divine identity is not arrogance, but alignment with your assignment. You're not better than others, but you are different, and that difference is purposeful. Stop shrinking, apologizing, or downplaying who you are. Walk boldly in the truth of your calling. Human, yes, but carrying divine DNA. You cannot fulfill your purpose while trying to make others comfortable. The world needs you fully awakened, fully expressed, and fully committed to who God designed you to be. Let's address the fear that is probably in your mind right now. What if I fully step into this and I fail? What if I give everything and it doesn't work? What if I stand in my identity and I lose everything? Those are legitimate fears. But here's the truth. You have already lost everything that is not meant for you. Every relationship, opportunity, and comfort that has fallen away was clearing space for what is meant for you. You are not risking loss by stepping into your calling. You are risking loss by refusing to step into it. The only real failure is living a life where you never became who you were created to be. God does not call you to something and then abandon you in it. If He encoded you with this DNA, He has already allocated the resources you need to fulfill the assignment. It may not come on your timeline, it may not come through conventional channels, but it will come. Your job is to stay in position. Keep standing in your identity. Keep speaking your truth. Keep refusing to compromise. Keep doing what only you can do. And watch how provision appears, how doors open, how enemies fall, how everything you need shows up exactly when you need it. Not before. Not late. Exactly when you need it. Here's what I know about you already. You have survived attacks that should have destroyed you. You have overcome obstacles that had no logical solution. You have walked through valleys that should have been your burial ground. And yet here you are, still standing, still fighting, still believing. That is not luck. That is not coincidence. That is proof that you carry something divine governments cannot touch. You have already won battles you didn't even know you were fighting. The fact that you are still here, still conscious, still resisting, that is evidence that you are exactly who I have been telling you that you are. So let me speak directly to where you are right now. You are under attack. The pressure is real. The opposition is intense. the cost of standing in your identity feels higher than ever, and you are wondering if it's worth it. You are wondering if you should just surrender to a quieter life. You are wondering if maybe everyone who told you to be more normal was right. Let me tell you what's happening in this exact moment. You are at the threshold. This is the breaking point where you either fully commit to who you are or you retreat into who they want you to be. And they are hitting you hardest right now because they know this is their last chance to turn you around. But here is what they don't understand about divine DNA. It cannot be satisfied with compromise. You can try to go back to sleep. You can try to ignore your calling. You can try to build a comfortable life that requires you to suppress your true nature. But you will never have peace. There will always be a restlessness in your spirit. There will always be a knowing that you abandoned your post. There will always be a hollowness that no amount of comfort can fill. Because once divine DNA activates, there is no going back. You can only go forward or live in perpetual tension between who you are and who you are pretending to be. I need you to hear this clearly. You were made for this moment. Not the easy version of this moment where everyone understands you and supports you and makes your path smooth. You were made for this moment exactly as it is, with all the opposition, with all the attacks, with all the cost. Every hardship you have ever faced was building capacity for this. Every betrayal was teaching you who to trust. Every closed door was directing you to the one door only you can open. Every season of isolation was training you to stand alone when standing alone becomes necessary. And it has become necessary. The question is not whether you can survive this. You have already proven you can survive things that would have broken most people. The question is whether you will thrive in this. And thriving does not mean having an easy life. Thriving means operating in purpose regardless of circumstances. It means waking up every day and choosing to be fully you, even when being fully you costs you everything. It means looking at the attacks and saying, "You confirm that I am exactly where I am supposed to be." That is thriving. And chosen one, you were built for it. Daily spiritual protection is essential in this season of warfare. You must begin each morning reaffirming your identity so the battle doesn't force you to rediscover who you are. Prayer becomes strategic intelligence, real conversation with God that provides strength, clarity, and direction. Your words carry creative power, so stop speaking defeat and start declaring victory. What you consume influences your spiritual frequency, making discernment crucial as you guard your mind, atmosphere, and energy. Community matters, but only the right community. Other chosen ones who sharpen you, challenge you, and help you stand when you are weary. Your testimony itself is a weapon. Every time you speak of what God brought you through, you dismantle enemy tactics and empower those walking behind you. Confidence is not arrogance, it is alignment with divine identity. You are not called to apologize for being chosen. You are called to embody the difference God placed within you. The fear of stepping into your calling is real, but refusing to step into it is the only true failure. Everything not meant for you has already been removed, making space for what aligns with your destiny. You are not risking loss by embracing your purpose. You risk loss by shrinking back from it. You were created for more than survival. You were created for transformation. And becoming who you were designed to be is the greatest act of faith you can live out. God does not call you to something and then abandon you in it. If He encoded you with this DNA, He has already allocated the resources you need to fulfill the assignment. It may not come on your timeline. It may not come through conventional channels, but it will come. Your job is to stay in position. Keep standing in your identity. Keep speaking your truth. Keep refusing to compromise. Keep doing what only you can do. And watch how provision appears, how doors open, how enemies fall, how everything you need shows up exactly when you need it. Not before, not late, exactly when you need it. Here's what I know about you already. You have survived attacks that should have destroyed you. You have overcome obstacles that had no logical solution. You have walked through valleys that should have been your burial ground. And yet, here you are, still standing, still fighting, still believing. That is not luck. That is not coincidence. That is proof that you carry something divine governments cannot touch. You have already won battles you didn't even know you were fighting. The fact that you are still here, still conscious, still resisting, that is evidence that you are exactly who I have been telling you that you are. Your assignment now is to live boldly in your divine identity without waiting for permission or seeking validation from those threatened by your calling. This is the season to stop shrinking, stop negotiating with mediocrity, and stop attempting to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You were not designed for comfort, but for awakening, called to disrupt darkness, expose lies, and activate others. The exchange is clear. Temporary comfort for eternal purpose. Fitting in for transformative influence. Human approval for divine approval. Opposition is the clearest confirmation of your significance. If you were irrelevant, you would face no resistance, but your endurance and integrity threaten systems built on deception. Even without a platform, your life forces others to choose between remaining asleep or waking up. Your weariness is not weakness. It is the evidence of a long, costly battle and a sign that breakthrough is near. Your testimony is becoming a blueprint for those who will follow, and God is aligning resources and connections so you can move from survival into purpose-filled abundance. You walk protected in mind, body, and spirit, while every weapon formed against you falls powerless. Your identity as unbreakable and unstoppable is your posture for this season. The warfare is real, but so is your authority, and you are enforcing a victory already won. Evil systems fight you fiercely because they know they are losing, and every attack is proof of your impact. Stand firm, hold your ground, and remain true to your calling. The breakthrough you fought for is closer than ever, and soon all will see that you are exactly who God declared you to be. Don't forget to check out the description of the powerful ebook created to further deepen your purpose and grow your life with prosperity. You heard this message for a reason, and this is your call to prosperity, where you will be guided towards financial abundance. The link is in the description and in the first comment. If this message stirred your spirit, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so you stay connected to messages designed specifically for chosen ones like you. In the comments, type the number 888, the number of new beginnings and divine alignment, to seal this moment and activate what God is releasing in your life right now. And for those of you who have been supporting this channel, thank you. Your generosity allows this message to reach millions of chosen ones. If you want to support the mission, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. Every contribution matters. Thank you for standing with us. Chosen one, you were born for such a time as this. You were encoded with divine DNA that evil governments cannot erase. You were marked before the foundation of the world for this exact battle. They can play as dirty as they want. They can come after you as hard as they can, but they cannot change what God has sealed in you. Stand in your identity. walk in your authority, fulfill your calling. The world is waiting for you to fully become who you were always meant to be. And nothing, no government, no system, no force of darkness can stop you now.